Cryptocurrency is not real? Cryptocurrency is not real. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? I thought you were an advocate for Bitcoin. What's up with this flip-floppity stuff? Cryptocurrency is not real. The reason I say cryptocurrency is not real or it doesn't exist is because it is crypto assets. Once you finally understand the way that cryptocurrency works, you realize that it's crypto assets, which is a big difference from a currency. And if there are people talking about this, but it bothers me when I hear about all of these projects and everybody saying, well, Bitcoin can't be a currency. It can't be a currency. It doesn't work that way. You have Elon Musk talking about how the electricity rate's going up, but you can't have the quick transactions. None of the cryptos are currencies. None of them are defined as currency. A currency, the definition of a currency is being able to transact without creating a taxable event. Every single cryptocurrency is defined as an asset. And if you haven't heard that yet, to all of the big altcoin crowd that talks about the quick speed of their cryptocurrencies, they're assets. You have a fast-moving asset that will be taxed as such. That's the truth. And so what I want to spread out there and draw some awareness towards is consider it crypto assets. It's almost as if I want to get that currency word out of it in the public mainstream. Let's talk crypto assets. That's the truth. And people aren't talking about this for some reason. I also wanted to talk about the future of currencies and the future of money in this video, and just kind of go through a bit of just off the top of my head type situation here, because I have a lot on my mind with what's going on with this recent crash in Bitcoin. There's been a pullback, and I want to talk about it because it's easy to be public and vocal when you're doing really well, and it's hard to go, public when things are not going so well, when things are pulling back a bit. If you've gotten to Bitcoin, a year ago, you're doing pretty well. You're doing decent. But if you got in at 60K, which a lot of people did, you're hurting right now. You're wondering what's going on. What I look at my Bitcoin position like, and it's funny. It's funny. The people from the silver crowd said I was foolish to get into Bitcoin around, 10, 20,000. And I even bought more at 60,000 too. I was buying on the way up. So I took some losses on the stuff I was buying on the way up. All in all, I'm up a lot. But the truth is, I could have held on my positions and waited for the perfect opportunities, but that just doesn't happen. You have to make your thesis and you have to act on your thesis. That's the truth. You can't get caught up in the daily fluctuations and when's the next perfect opportunity to get in. What I wanted to talk about though. It's funny, when Bitcoin was lowered, even when Bitcoin was higher, the silver crowd was like, "Oh, why aren't you all in on silver? You should only be in silver, right?" But then you have the Bitcoin crowd, and I'm on both sides of the field here. So with the Bitcoin crowd, they're like, "Why would you waste your time in silver?" How ironic. When Bitcoin was up, my silver was there waiting for this opportunity. And now when Bitcoin's down, guess what? My silver's up. So I can take some silver and put it into my Bitcoin. So there aren't that many places to park your money, but I love silver and Bitcoin. Those are my two favorite places. But I just want to say it's ironic because now, you got you get to enjoy both sides in a way when you are, when you stack physical metal and you also believe in Bitcoin. So it's kind of a unique place to be. So I'm looking at Bitcoin now and I'm going, might be a good opportunity to stack a few more full coins. That's the way I'm looking at Bitcoin right now. But I want to talk about the future of currency and how I see what happens next. I want to talk about a digital dollar. I want to talk about cashless society. I want to talk about CBDCs. I guess the way that I would phrase it is, people that say time is, it's hard for me to say this because a lot of people say, money doesn't buy happiness. Money doesn't buy happiness. I define it a little different. I think it does buy happiness. I think money buys time. Money to me is stored time. The more money you have and the more frugal you are with it, the more time you have in your reserves. Time is, you can't put a price on time, but money does buy you time. So it's kind of I guess it's hard to say that, but I think you know what I mean by that. Money is supposed to be stored time. And when you have a situation where they can print 3 trillion at will over, a very short amount of time, say a month or even less than that, and go, 3 trillion. Nobody should have that kind of power. Nobody should have that kind of power to unleash stored time on the public. So we're at a crossroads right now. And I guess this is a good time to say I'm not a financial advisor. Everything I say in my videos is just my personal opinion, not to be taken as financial advice. So disclaimer, could be completely wrong about the things I talk about in my videos, just my personal opinions here. If you agree with me, would appreciate a thumbs up so we can get this video out to more people. And I want to shoot these videos. I like doing these live streams on the weekends, and hopefully the quality is better now. But let's keep talking about this CBDC situation and what they're doing. When you consider money stored time, you realize how ridiculous it is that any entity, not just the Fed, that any entity on the planet could unleash stored time that people are working for. If you are working for a wage and you are working hard, and all of a sudden somebody can just poof all of that stored time on the public. There isn't really words for it, because it's like it's one of the most evil things that you could do. Making people work for something that you can just inject at free will. That's wrong. To put into the society whenever you can. So when I look at that situation, I think to myself, well, what are our options here? What do you do here? Because what I would like to consider money, the way that I look at it, I guess, is I look at it like it's layers of a cake. Like there's layers of money. I see the stock market is a layer. I see silver as a layer. Gold is a layer. Platinum, a layer. And the precious metals layers right there with their individual layers. And then you see Bitcoin as a layer. I see the dollar as a layer. The yen, the euro, Australian currency, the CAD, all these different, I see them all as these layers in a way. Might sound crazy to a lot of people, but that's just the way I look at it. I look at it like it's layers. And in those layers, there has to be free competition. It has to be a free market. So if one of those layers of money can just poof as much of it as it wants on the other layers, that's not going to be a good cake there. That's going to be a problem. That's how I see it. I go, okay, well, if I was another entity looking at one of them, and look at the way, there's one thing that I wanted to talk about when it comes to Powell. He seemed real comfortable in that last talk he did. I don't know I'm sure a lot of people in this live stream caught that, but Powell seemed really comfortable. He really, it almost was like arrogant the way that he said, oh, well, we're the reserve currency and we'll always be the reserve currency. I'm paraphrasing in a way, but he said it like something along those lines. We'll always be the reserve currency. We're the reserve currency. And if I was a different entity, I'd be looking at Powell and going, we make stuff. You guys consume stuff. It's not cool. It's not cool. And it's hard for me not to criticize that, because that's the way that I saw it myself. I go, you just printed over 10 trillion, somewhere around almost 15 trillion, maybe more than 15 trillion at this point. And you have the audacity to publicly kind of, chirp from a pedestal in a way. Like, I don't know how I felt about that. And so one of the layers has gotten arrogant. One of the layers has gotten out of control. And that's the way that I see it. And recently, something that is probably going to be very helpful for everybody watching this at home is the dollar index just broke under 90, which I see that as a very key level. And it actually broke under it and went to 89, and then it bounced up. It fell under 90 with conviction. And then it just slowly went just over 90 again. I believe it's back over 90, but that fall under 8 to 89 on the dollar index was pretty heavy. And so if that continues, if you see a crash in the dollar index, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to see that dollar index fall to 70. And I know some people might think it's just that's a wild analysis, but I think the dollar index could just show serious volatility and just start dropping. Because I don't know about you at home, my gas is costing a lot more. I think I paid $4.50 per gallon recently. And so things are going to start costing a lot more money. And then eventually people are going to realize, oh, wait, the dollars aren't worth as much as they used to be worth. And then that's when you'll see the crash in the dollar index. And that's when you see a stock market. If the stock market goes down with a dollar index going down, that's a crash squared. You get double the losses because your instrument of measure for your stocks is dollars. So if both of them are going down at the same time, you got to put that into the equation. Something to think about. But if the dollar index crashes, it will take more dollars to buy silver because silver has a somewhat finite amount of it. Collectibles has a finite amount to the collectibles. Bitcoin has a finite amount at 21 million. It'll take more dollars to buy those limited assets. So that's an interesting way that I'm seeing what's happening right now. And so the big money, if you're looking for the big money, it's always made by sitting on your hands. I see all these individuals talking about trading and this and that. When Tesla was down at, say, 100, did it make sense to trade it between 100 and 120 back in 2013? There were so many people that thought they were geniuses, making that 20% spread on it, going from 100 to 120, 100, 120, 100, 150. They'd be trading those spreads. But didn't it just make, what about Amazon? Did it make sense to trade Amazon 10 years ago? That makes sense. No, you should have just bought it. You should have just bought it and sat on it. But looking back on it, looking at it in retrospect, it's easy to look at things in hindsight and go, oh, that made perfect sense. It's easy to connect the dots going backwards, as Steve Jobs would say. But you gotta draw your thesis and think about what's happening next. And my thesis is I think the dollar is going to crash. I think the dollar loses its reserve currency status within the next 5 years. That's a pretty bold statement to make in a video, but I believe that. I think that the way that the Fed chairman is talking, he's too comfortable. He's too comfortable. And when you're comfortable, that's the enemy. I'm not saying you get what I mean, but comfort is the enemy. Comfort is the enemy. As soon as you get comfortable, that's when bad things can happen. And he seems way, way too comfortable in these interviews. And so why do I label this video? Oh yeah, I had taken this out to see where the dollar index was. The dollar index, yeah, see, it's just barely hanging on, the dollar index. The dollar index is at $90.04, 90 and 4 cents. So just barely hanging over 90. And that's a very key level. If it falls under 90, you could see that thing trace back to 85, 80, 75 real fast. And so that's something, if there's one thing to keep your eyes on right now, if you're in the stock market, if you're in silver, if you're in gold, if you're in Bitcoin, I even got a little cold storage right there. So if you're in Bitcoin, if you're in any of this, anything in general, actually, you should be watching that dollar index. That's a key thing to be watching right now. And I think that recent fall under 89 is a very big tell. And that's a big secret there. Watch that dollar index. Anyways, it seems that it's a matter of time before the truth comes out that the inflation rate is a lot more than 2-3%, like they're saying at the Fed. I think it's just a matter of time. And I wanted to talk about crypto in a way and why I'm such a maximalist on Bitcoin. As of right now, you see, grab a little bit of water real quick, but as of right now, if the laws change where they allow a currency, let's say, where they say, okay, well, some cryptos can be taxed as a currency, then everything I'm saying right now is invalidated. But as of right now, the truth is, to anybody that's actually studied it, it's an asset. And if it's defined as assets, I want to hold the crypto that has a limited amount, has the strongest blockchain, and is the hardest to make. That's the one that I consider a real asset. So all of the framework of Bitcoin is a true asset class. Yes, of course there are cryptos out there that can move way easier, way less energy, all of these different aspects to it, but they're not designed to be an asset. And as of right now, you are an asset. That is what all cryptos are. Cryptocurrency does not exist. All of them are crypto assets. So until that regulation changes, I'm Bitcoin. I'm looking at Ethereum as well and a little bit of the Cardano, but the more I study it, I think to myself, I don't see anything that's using Ethereum on an actual, I don't see anybody programming the money yet. Not only do I see that, but I don't see any of the regulations changing to allow a currency. So why would I be in any other thing in quantity than Bitcoin? It's designed to be an asset. It's adapted into that. Maybe Bitcoin started as a currency in the beginning, but the design of Bitcoin is to be an asset. That's why I like Bitcoin. And I'm going to get into more detail on Bitcoin in a second here and why I'm still bullish on Bitcoin. I've not sold a single Bitcoin since the very beginning. I've bought Bitcoin at 7,000. I've bought Bitcoin at 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 even. I bought Bitcoin the whole time. Haven't sold any of it. I'm not trading it. But here's the thing. It comes down to leverage. And this is the key point of this entire video, really. It comes down to leverage. If I want to get the upper hand in a negotiation, I got to have some sort of leverage. I can't just come into a negotiation empty-handed. And so what do I mean by that? Right now, who's getting the upper hand in a deal? And in the clickbaity thumbnail of this video, I put a banker there, and made it said, beware the bankers. They are getting the better end of the deal right now in spades. Way better end of the deal than the public. How do I know that? They can multiply. We give them a free loan. I've said this so many times in my videos, but I want to relate this to currency as a whole, to the entire monetary system, to all those different layers that I'm talking about. I want to talk about leverage and how can we leverage silver against a bank? How can you leverage gold against the bank? The truth is, and maybe I'll get to this a little later. I'm jumping ahead of myself. But anyway, the bank is able to take our free loan. So say my business gives the bank $1 million. The bank takes my $1 million, right? And they can loan it out as much as they want. Not only will they loan it out in multiples because the interest rates are at zero and there's no fractional reserve banking anymore. And even when it was fractional reserve banking, they could still multiply it by 10x. Now they just can multiply it as much as they want. Anyway, I digress. They have the upper hand in that deal because when I give them the money, they don't even give me a penny on the dollar. They give me a fraction of a penny on the dollar. Literally a fraction of a penny on the dollar, whereas they make 8 to 12 cents on the dollar annually, but multiply that. Say they make 10% on the capital that I give them, and they multiply my capital by 10x. They now make 100% on my capital. Who's getting the better end of the deal? I give them $1 million. They make 100% annually on my money because they make 10% loans, annual loans, and they multiply it by 10x. So they take my money and literally get to double it every year. Talk about serious returns. That's what's literally happening right now. And these pompous individuals running the banks can't even freeze the ice cubes we give them. They can't even, they won't, you'd expect them to be able to multiply our ice cubes of dollars that we give them, but they can't even freeze it for us. And when I say that, they won't even pay us an interest rate that compensates for the inflation rate. That's a greedy deal. That's just not only a lopsided deal, that's a greedy deal. And the people don't have any leverage because they have the capital. And as we move towards a digital society, they continue to hold the leverage. Because guess what? That money isn't on any blockchain. That stored time that I talked about earlier, there's no blockchain to that. They can do whatever they want. Completely up to their will. Isn't that a scary world? They can inject as much of this digital dollar as they want. It's not back to any type of electricity, not back to any kind of time-consuming event, just injected at will whenever they want. And to the people saying cashless society isn't coming, I have a thing to tell you, 92% of the money is already digital. So you're kind of wrong about that. If you don't think we're going to a cashless society, why do you think our highest denomination is $100 when inflation is growing? Why did we have $1,000 bills back in 1930, but we don't have them in 2021? It's blatantly obvious that we're going to a digital world. In a digital world, if it's 100% that we're going to a digital world, do you want to live in a digital world where they control the chain of digital money? Do you want that world where the time, the hard work of humanity, the time that goes into that hard work is controlled by the flick of a switch at the Fed? That's not a world that I want to live in. That scares me like nothing else. So when I talk about leverage, how do you get leverage on a bank? You take the money out of the bank. That's how you get leverage on a bank that's using your money against you and making a lot of money against you. If everybody took their money out of the bank, they couldn't even supply it. So talk about leverage. If everybody took the money out of the banks, they literally couldn't even supply it. If all the citizens took it out at the same time, they wouldn't have it. They wouldn't be available. So if that's the case, what happens if everybody takes their money, puts it into silver, puts it into gold, puts it into precious metals, puts it into Bitcoin? Now you're talking leverage, right? Because they're not going to want you to know how to get leverage. I like chess. I love chess. And when they're playing checkers, the citizens got to start learning how to play chess. And it's scary to even talk about this kind of stuff because once you go down the rabbit hole in a way, once you kind of taken that different approach, you can't go back. Once you see the clear picture, you kind of, and with this YouTube channel, it's like I'm getting a bunch of offers to do advertisements and stuff on my videos, and be that talk about some VPN or talk about some trading app or something. And I just want to be able to rant in my videos, and I just appreciate everybody for wanting to listen to me rant in my videos. So I get some sort of, it's like the first thing in my life that actually it feels like wholesome because I'm always negotiating and doing sales all the time. So the YouTube thing is, I'd rather just put this information out there, and whatever comes from it, good, bad, or indifferent, I'm putting it out there. But how do you get leverage on a bank? You take the money out of the bank. And then once the money's out of the bank, say it's all on Bitcoin. Let's just talk in hypotheticals here. Say everybody took their money out of the bank, put it in Bitcoin for a little bit, right? Then the citizens as a whole, I'm just talking hypothetically because obviously this couldn't happen at the same time, but say this did happen. Then the citizens that took the money and put it in Bitcoin that wasn't part of any centralized anything could look at the centralized thing and go, you've been ripping me off a while, bud. I don't like it. I'm not cool with it. You guys make a lot of money on my money to the tune of like hundreds of percents on my money per year, but you won't even give me enough to compensate for inflation? That deal's got to change. You want to hold my capital? You want to hold my capital, Chase? Really? Oh, isn't that something funny? Because it looks like Bitcoin's paying me pretty well, silver's paying me pretty well. You're going to have to give me at least 10% annual to hold my capital. And you know what? I want it in a checking account too. I don't even want to put it in a CD. You want my capital? I want 10% in my checking account annual. And I want access to that money. And we can adjust for whatever I take out of it. But I don't even want to lock it up. I need 10% unlocked if you want to hold my capital. Now that's leverage. That's getting a good deal. You want to talk about deal? You want to talk about leverage. So you got to focus on the leverage first before you get a deal that you want. Because if they hold all the leverage, you're never going to get the deal you want. We're always going to get pennies on the dollar, and they're always going to take advantage of us. So for me, the layers of money, when it comes to a CBDC, when it comes to Bitcoin, when it comes to silver, when it comes to all this stuff, it comes down to leverage. And it comes down to fair competition due to that leverage. And that's where Bitcoin comes into play. So all of that really was to describe how a silver nerd, a diehard silver bull, started to love Bitcoin. All of that was what took me into Bitcoin, because Bitcoin, as much as I love silver and as much as I think silver is easily going to go to 100 in the very near future, I am still that individual that loves silver. I've had this silver bar here years. Same silver bar. I like this silver bar. I don't want my silver bar in a depository. I like this specific New York assay bar from 1951. I like both of my New York assay bars from 1951. I don't want to give them my silver. I want to have my physical silver. But here's the problem with physical silver. Although it's the right thing to do, although having physical silver is better than any kind of digital silver, I know that I can't take this block of silver with me on a plane. I know I can't travel with it. I can travel with this. I can't even travel with this. I can't even get on a plane with this because it's over 10 grand. This is 20 grand, 21,000, right? This is a problem. But this or this, I can do anything I want with it. So for me, that's leverage. The ultimate leverage, the ultimate storage of wealth in the digital realm, if we're going 100% towards the digital realm, the ultimate storage of wealth that gives the citizens leverage of the citizens of the world leverage, not just in the US, citizens of the entire world leverage against the centralized banking system, it's Bitcoin. And it's not about, I'm so sick of the argument of, oh, it's people breaking the law in Bitcoin and people doing, evasive type things in Bitcoin. No, it's not. It's individuals that want sovereignty. It's individuals that would rather take the gamble, take the risk, and go into Bitcoin because they want individual sovereignty and they want leverage over a system that has obviously become corrupt. And so if that is the instrument of leverage, and if all cryptocurrencies are assets, that essentially what I'm defining is the funnel that led me into being a Bitcoin bull and what led me into being a Bitcoin maximalist. And that's not taking anything away from silver and gold. Silver's still always going to be my number one position. You want to know why silver's my number one position? Because now that Bitcoin's down, guess who has silver that he can sell and put into Bitcoin? So for all the Bitcoin guys that were laughing at me for silver, who's laughing now? And for all of these silver guys that were laughing at me for buying Bitcoin way back when, who's laughing now? So that's my strategy. I'm giving you guys my strategy. This isn't a Patreon. This isn't some, advertisement. I just want to put this information out there so it helps the world, because it makes me sick knowing how much the bank is getting from the citizens, and it's just not a fair deal. It's not a fair deal. And so in the near term, and for example, say Bitcoin skyrockets, right? And everybody goes into Bitcoin and they have the ultimate leverage again. Well, guess who's got to start acting right? The people who don't have the leverage. They got to start acting right because the people with the leverage want a fair deal. And maybe, just maybe, the law changed. So all the people that are in Dogecoin, maybe that is the next currency. So the Bitcoin crowd might have the leverage to get regulations to change to allow a universal currency to be out there that's quicker with transactions, that's more fast transactions. But maybe, just maybe, it takes the leverage of the asset, crypto, to get the actual term, to make, for the title of this video, to make cryptocurrency exist, it's going to take a crypto asset to get it there. That's why I'm most bullish on Bitcoin. And so it's hard to talk about this type of stuff when a large part of my audience is extremely closed off to Bitcoin. But I hope that this video helps bring up some points that maybe you weren't thinking about. And I hope that because it was really hard for me to accept Bitcoin. But until I realized those things about it and understood that we only have assets right now, That's what made me gravitate towards Bitcoin. The worst part about where we are right now with the currencies is it's like, so the silver and gold crowd is right. It is going to go up, especially in inflation, especially silver. If I have to choose between gold and silver, I'm going to choose silver every single time. I'll actually even choose platinum before gold. But I think all of them are going to be going up over time, especially the industrial metals. However, I don't think you get the same amount of leverage that Bitcoin can get. I think Bitcoin gives you a lot more leverage than precious metals when it comes to being able to go anywhere in the world, have full access to your funds. With gold, the central banks do have gold. They have a lot of gold. All the powers that be have gold, a lot of it. They don't have a lot of silver. That's why I like silver so much. But they don't have Bitcoin. And Bitcoin is something you can literally go, I memorized it. My seed phrase is in my head. I memorize my 12-word seed phrase, I've memorized it. I can go anywhere with my seed phrase, memorize that, and I have access to my entire, I'm a reserve bank in my brain. Like, that is so elegant. The fact that humans find a way to adapt to whatever environment comes in front of it, and to create something that you can invent a 12-word combination that you can memorize and put your entire reserve bank in your head and store that money in the digital realm in your head. I mean, what an invention that is. What an invention. So in the near term, if Bitcoin's fluctuating and doing volatile movements from 60,000 to 30,000, whatever's happening, I believe in the future of it because it's hope. It really is hope to me. Silver and gold is not going to be able to give you the leverage you need to actually counteract. It will help, but it won't do the same thing as Bitcoin. It doesn't give the same level of sovereignty as Bitcoin. And that's my argument. And that's coming from a big, big precious metals bull. So that's my thoughts on it. And when it comes down to the entire fiat currency structure, they talk about it, okay, well, the dollar is the cleanest shirt in the dirty hamper. We've heard that line a million times. The only thing out there that, like, the goal of Jerome Powell, for example, is to just let Pandora's box open just a little bit and keep it just only slightly open. How about we just get rid of Pandora's box and fix it? How about we stop kicking the can down the road of this nightmare of inflated fake money and fix it? There is no possible solution to fix the problem that we have other than a decentralized digital money that isn't connected to any individual currency. And what does that do? It creates competition. So if the fiat currency structure isn't acting right, and this goes on top of the bank, so not just the banks, but the entire instrument of measure, whatever currency that you are in, to have the opportunity to leave whatever currency you're in and go into Bitcoin gives you so much leverage for these individuals like the Fed to start acting right. You want to know how I know the Fed doesn't care about the people? Because if the Fed really cared about the people, they wouldn't have printed 15 trillion. They would have just made you not have to pay taxes for 5 years. Do people understand how much jobs and how many more entrepreneurs would succeed if they just didn't tax you for 5 years? They make roughly $3 trillion a year in revenue as a business. If you look at the business of government, they make $3 trillion a year off of the citizens, right? If you've printed roughly 15 trillion, you could have, instead of printing all these stimulus packages and trying to find up ideas on where to spend the money and you have this type of situation in here. Why do I have this picture? People ask me that all the time. You have this type of situation with, barking back and forth. And then they finally come to some sort of realization where they just waste the capital on whatever they want to waste it on. And then barely any of it gets to the citizens. If they just didn't do any of that and they said, you know what, we make $3 trillion a year. No taxes for 5 years. What'll that do? You think that'll help them get out of the situation we're in right now? You think that'd help the economy? Probably would. Let's not do that. That makes too much sense. Makes too much sense. Powell's out there and then they're talking, no, the 3 trillion stimulus package. Perfect. We'll do that. That'll kick the can down the road. They don't want to fix Pandora's box. They don't want to fix it. So it's up to the citizens to get the leverage to change Pandora's box into something that actually makes sense. So for me, it's like whether Bitcoin succeeds or doesn't succeed, I think it will succeed. It's had 13 years of being, and it's had a lot more trials and tribulations than Elon Musk bashing on it. A lot more than that. So it survived a lot of bad things out there, and Bitcoin still stands today well over 30,000. So it's pretty impressive. I remember when it fell from 20,000 to 3,000, that was the end. That was the end. And now here we are at 30,000, 10,000 higher than the high of 20,000 when it crashed the first time. And people are still saying this is the end of Bitcoin. It's the end of it. It's like, develop a thesis and stick to that thesis. The big bucks, if you want to make the big bucks, it doesn't come from trading. There is no guru. I'm not a guru. All the guys on YouTube, girls on YouTube, we're not gurus. All of the men and women across the entire world, they're not gurus. The ones who make it to the very top stick to a thesis. They stick to a thesis. Develop a thesis, stick to your thesis, and play it out. I've developed mine. It's time, and don't take my word for it. Question everything that you hear online. Question everything I say. If you don't agree with me, put a comment on it. If you agree with me, put a like, because it helps this video reach more people and it helps spread awareness to the cause. You know, all I can do is just make these videos, and I'd rather do a live stream that's completely unedited. Maybe I ramble a little bit. Some people say, oh, you could have said that in 15 minutes. It's not authentic to me. Anybody can make a video that's very highly edited, but it's hard to just go live for an hour and talk about everything you know on a subject. I'm learning new stuff every single day. I don't know. I maybe know 5% of what I want to know about the cryptocurrency space. Maybe that. So I still got 95% of learning to do, but that little 5% that I do know, I want to share it for free on YouTube. That's what I want to do with it. I don't want to do the Patreon thing. I know people are saying the Patreon, this and that. I just want to put this information out there on YouTube on live, and hopefully, because the goal is to get it out to a lot of people. I don't want to do it just for selfish reasons and go, okay, well, you know, let me find out a way to make $100,000 off of some Patreon thing. It's like, it's not going to help the cause. So right now, all I can say is develop your own thesis, question everything, and stick to that thesis. Because the way that we're going right now, there's no solutions. So what I urge of all of the precious metal stackers that follow my channel and often say, it doesn't make any sense that you believe in this internet funny money. Why do you do this? We know that you're big in precious metals. Why do you believe in this internet funny money? It's because of leverage, and it's because I want to focus on solutions. So the one thing I urge of you, if you're only in precious metals and you don't believe in any cryptocurrency at all, currency. You see, I said currency, crypto asset. And there's only one crypto asset, and it's Bitcoin. So they're defined as assets. There's only one. I urge you to think about solutions. Is silver a genuine solution to the problem at hand? Is gold a genuine solution to the problem at hand? Will the gold actually give you leverage over the bank? Maybe a little. But they have gold and they have silver. Not a lot of silver, more gold. The central banks have gold, and all of the governments of the world have a lot of gold. So that doesn't really give you the same leverage. But if you decide to take their funny money and turn it into internet funny money, and what is money? It's a belief. It's a belief among the world that this is valuable. It's a belief among all the citizens, all the humans of the world, that this is valuable. Money is just a belief system. That's what it really is. And so I urge you to think to yourself, does precious metals and precious metals alone provide the solutions that we need for the problem at hand? Can I store my precious metals in my head? And people will say, well, we can have a digital currency. And shout out to the guy that keeps emailing me to shout out his digital currency, his digital gold and silver company. And it's actually a pretty big firm. They have like 9 things around the world or something where they store the gold and silver. Not only will I not advertise for you because they emailed me again, not only will I not, it started with a K. So if you guys know what this is, some digital gold and silver with a K, it keeps messaging me on my email. I told them not to. It shows they don't watch my videos, but they always say they like my videos and they want me to do an advertisement for them. Not only will I not advertise for your digital gold or digital silver, I will say that it is foolish to use that service. Foolish. If they say their service is 0% annually, a real depository takes 1-2% a year. That's what a real reserve bank, a real depository. I work with them. They take 1-2% a year because they're holding your metal for you. So they're doing you a service. You got to pay them for that service. But if they're saying they're going to do it at 0%, there's strings attached, just like with Robinhood. And I don't trust that. Every single time that there was a problem with the currency from being, debased from gold and silver, it's because a custodian was trusted. That's always been the problem with precious metals, is the custodian runs away with the metal and does something with that metal. So I don't trust a custodian with my precious metals. Like I said, I want this exact bar right here. I want this 1951 New York assay bar right here, this one. Not any other one, this one. I want this gold bar, not any other one. I want this one that I can touch and feel that's right here. This is the one I want, this JM. I want that one. That's the way I think. I don't believe in a digital metal in the same way that I believe in digital Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is something that is actually digital. The asset itself is stored. It's stored labor in hyperspace. Like, that's pretty unique. So when you hear Elon Musk talking about, oh, well, it's, too much electricity is being used, that's the point. Maybe there's not, obviously it can be better. We need more renewables. But the point is that it took a lot of labor to create this asset. That's the point. It wasn't easy to make this, and it ends at 21 million. Inevitably, once it does end, it will use less energy. But it will take a lot of resources to run this. So when it becomes a situation where it's all renewables, the whole point of Bitcoin was for it to be hard to get. It wasn't for it to be a currency. You're supposed to use your Bitcoin to have the leverage to use it where you want to. And then different individual sites can create their own tokenized systems. See, that's why I think it's like, if people think, for example, Dogecoin is going to be the currency of the world, right? What would you do if Amazon, and this might happen because it would be the right situation to make, but what happens if eBay, what happens if Amazon, what happens if every single company, Facebook, all of them, create their own token? And all you have to do is send your Bitcoin in. Maybe even takes a whole day for your Bitcoin to go in there, right? That's what happens with a wire transfer. It takes a whole day, but we don't hear anybody, questioning wire transfers. Bitcoin is faster than a wire transfer. I often get Bitcoin there within a minute. So when people talk about the fast transaction times and whatnot, you can move your Bitcoin easily within an hour. So what I see happening is Amazon comes out with their own token so that they have their own stable coin, their own Amazon token, and then they can just transact instantaneously with an Amazon token, but you boop in Bitcoin to get your Amazon token. Basically you give a wire transfer to have credits within individual platforms. That's how I see it happening with Bitcoin. So that's why I look at altcoins and it just doesn't make any sense to me. I just think like it's hard for me to rationalize the use of it when that can happen easily, and that probably will happen. It probably will happen where individual large companies have their own tokenized structures. And they might even use US dollars to drop money into there, and then use that tokenized structure just so you don't have to deal with the different nuances of a dollar. But I see individual large companies like Amazon using their own tokenized structure, having their own altcoin. So as great as a lot of the projects are out there, you don't have the same kind of capital or resources as Amazon, and they could make a token like that. And then it just completely invalidates the use of Dogecoin or whatever. Has anybody thought about that? A, it's not defined as a currency. You have an asset. And B, all these big companies that you're hoping adopt Dogecoin could just come out with their own token. So then your whole logic is invalidated for the need of a currency. You need an asset stored in hyperspace that you can deposit like a wire transfer into the tokenized systems. So, but what do I know? I'm just a guy that rants a lot. That's how I feel about it. But let me get. But a lot of the altcoin crowd, they don't like to hear the truth. They don't like to hear the truth. The truth is, you have a crypto asset. You do not have a cryptocurrency. Not a single cryptocurrency on the entire market is a currency. And the most well-known people in the cryptocurrency space, crypto asset space, will tell you that's the truth. And the people in the comment section, there's a lot of people in there that know the truth, and they know that I'm telling the truth when I say that. None of them are defined as a currency. None of them. The definition of a currency is something that you can exchange without creating a taxable event. The only time, and here's the craziest part about it. The only time, say Dogecoin, for example, can be a currency is if you bought 100,000 in Dogecoin to buy something in 100,000 in Dogecoin at the same moment. Excuse me, but there's still, it's impossible to get it at the exact same moment. Maybe you're able to pull it off at like 40 cents and sell it at 40 cents and it's an equal situation. But then here's how it's completely invalidated at that point to use it as a currency. You had to buy it at the same time that you moved it. So it was the same price when you moved it. But to buy it, you had to pay an exchange fee. So you had to pay way more fees. It took a lot of time to get that money into your account just to get that currency when you already had the currency in the first place. So you basically paid an extra fee to an exchange to use it as a currency. Otherwise, you bought it early and now you have an asset and you had a taxable event. You created a gain by buying something in it. So it's just there's a lot of people that don't inform themselves on what the difference is between an asset and a currency. And if they are, in fact, assets, which they are, I'm going to choose the one that's actually designed to be an asset. And when these individual companies do come out with their own tokens, I'm going to be the first one to say, told you so. Because when they do that, if Amazon decides we're not going to use Ethereum, we're not going to use they might use Ethereum because they might want to program the money. Now that's different. But when it comes to just having their own currency to transact on Amazon, it would be much more likely that they come out with their own stable coin. Much more likely they have their own token. That's just my feeling on it. And people will accept a certain amount of Amazon token, and you can buy things within Amazon, an Amazon token. Like sellers would accept it. Everybody would accept it because you had a select amount of Amazon token that took a certain amount of Bitcoin to buy that, or a certain amount of dollars to buy Amazon token. That makes way more sense to me than them adopting, say, Dogecoin or something like that. That's how I see it. So maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm right. That's how I feel about it. But those were all the things I really wanted to talk about. The real message of the video is focus on solutions. Don't focus on just the problem. Focus on solutions. You see Peter Schiff. And Peter Schiff, if Peter Schiff ran for president, I would do everything I could in my power to endorse him because he would make an epic president. He would make a fantastic president. His philosophies on everything that he stands for politically and, as an economically and politically, grammar wasn't my strong suit. But anyway, I would vote for him. But if you notice, he never points out a solution. He's always pointing out the problems. You can't just flip a switch and fix it by going to gold. That's not a solution. And so I just don't see that you got to come up with some sort of solution. What's the next thing that's going to bring humanity to the next level? And the truth is it's got to be a decentralized digital wealth that has no place to go after. If you have a vault with gold in it somewhere, you have a Fort Knox and that has a big target on it. And it's all there. Whenever a custodian has the physical asset somewhere, you have a problem. But if you have it stored in your mind, if you have it stored on one of these, you are essentially a reserve bank that has all the power that nobody can take away from you. That's leverage, and that's a real solution. So whether it succeeds or it doesn't succeed, it's a real tactical thing to have, to give yourself leverage against a system that isn't gonna change easily. If you've been getting away with printing money at free whenever you want, you're the Fed, you're not going to really want to give that up easily. You're going to want to print a lot of it so that there's more puppet strings attached. And then eventually they're just the king puppet master, So I'll go right back to that statement of saying if they really wanted society to recover fast, they just wouldn't tax them. And I only say 5 years because they spent enough money to cover taxes for 5 years. Realistically, if they just didn't tax people for 2020 and 2021, that would help the economy tremendously. To all of the people out there getting a W-2, how much money would you save? I remember when I was a waiter. When I was a waiter, I'd make a bunch of tips and most of my checks would be zero. But I'd always look at my checks and I'd go, I had to pay $4,000 in my W-2s here, like in my pay stubs. There's $4,000 missing per month just because I made a lot of taxes, a lot of tips. And then I go Medicare, this, that, and Social Security, all these different things. And you go, that's a lot of money every month. I would have made $4,000 extra every month as a waiter. I remember that. Something like $3,600 or something was taken out every month because of my tips being high as a waiter. So everybody that gets those pay stubs, look at how much is deducted, how much is automatically taken out. And that's a subject for another talk, is when you own your own business, that that you don't get it automatically taken out. If you get a W-2, it's automatically taken out, so you don't get to do anything with that capital. You don't get to spend it on any write-offs or anything like that. But that's a subject for a different talk. But how much more money would have come in? How much more would have helped you, helped your employer, if you just didn't owe taxes and you got the whole check? I'd give them back the $1,400, the $600, the $1,200. That was nothing compared to how much money I would make that in 1 month if they just took their hand out of my pocket. That's that. But the sad part is how much money they printed. They easily could have done that. Easily. For 2 years it would have been a savings. It would have been a legitimate savings if they did that for 2 years, because the maximum cap they were going to make was $3.5 trillion per year in revenues. That was the maximum cap. So if they just didn't tax us for 2 years, that's only $7 trillion cost to not tax society for 2 years. $7 trillion costs. They're talking about printing another $3-4 trillion, right? It's like they literally printed double that and then some. So it would have saved them 50% of the capital they printed. Not only would it save them 50% of the capital that they printed, if they didn't print any of this capital, it's like I'm not an economist. I'm not Janet Yellen. I'm not Powell. I'm a college dropout talking in his warehouse. What do I know? Right? But think about it. Not only would you have made it so that people made a lot more money because you didn't take their W-2 money from them, and people would be more inspired to work because they get to keep everything. They'd be way more inspired. I mean, even just like, flipping burgers, you'd be like, wait a minute, I get to keep the whole $2,500 a month. That's still good money. $1,800 a month. I can get some stuff started with that. If they don't take the half of it, take 40% of it, 30% of it, I get to keep all of it. All the jobs all of a sudden look a little better or a lot better. So you imagine how many people would be inspired to work, right? They're incentivizing not working. But how many more people would be inspired to work if they just didn't take so much? Especially in states like California, where there's an added state tax on top of that. If they just kept their hands out of your pockets, and next time you get your pay stub, go through it and remember what I talked about here and go, man, if I kept every single one of those, if I got to keep my whole check and they never took anything out of it, that'd be way better than that $1,400. But not only would it be better, not only would it help the economy, but guess what? The instrument in which you're getting paid in would be stronger as well. And that's something everybody's not thinking about. Or a lot of us do know about this, obviously, but a lot of people don't know about this. But as they print and print, so not only is it not a solution, but it also diluted the currency that's supposed to be the solution. So what they did to fix the problem was just literally pour more problems on it. If you had this much problems, they're like, how do we make more problems? All right, let's pour a bunch of problems on the problems and see if there would be less problems. That's literally what they do. It's like, this is the reason why I have this Banksy portrait here. It's Parliament, but I would be that I consider it the House of Representatives and the Senate as well right there. So that's what they do. They're like, we've got some problems. Let's pour some problems on them problems, and hopefully we'll have less problems by pouring problems on the problems. All they had to do was just go away. Just get out of the way. And we would have recovered like that. And they're saying we're recovering, but guess what? Inflation wouldn't be going up. All these different things. So the instrument we're paid in is diluted. And on top of that, there's less jobs and people struggling because they have to still, it's like what did they do? They gave us an extra month. That was what they decided to do. We're going to dilute their currency, take months and months and months to figure out how to give them some weak check that can last a month of groceries, not even rent. And then we're going to dilute the currency on top of it. It bothers me a lot. And all I can do is share this information and put it out there. And maybe some people agree, maybe some people don't. But that's pretty much everything I have to say on this subject. I wanted to do a quick live stream and talk about this because I got a lot on my mind with stuff that's going on. But I hope that there's some good information here. And I hope that it's worth your while. If it is, would really appreciate it if you took if you take a second out of your time to smash that like button. Really, really would help the video reach out to more people. And if you could do that, really would mean a lot to me. If you don't like the video, put a dislike. I would rather it be a like, but if you don't like the video, put a dislike and then say why you didn't like it. But I really would appreciate a like. And I know everybody says it in the videos. I say it a lot, but if you take that split second to hit that like button and turn it blue, it really does help this information get out there. And I hope that there's valuable information that you find worth spreading. These are all it's a mixture. The things that I'm talking about is kind of a mixture of Peter Schiff and Michael Saylor and a bit of what Elon Musk. I'm still a fanboy of Elon Musk. He makes it so hard to be a fan of his. It's like, but he's just, maybe in his mind, he thinks to himself, I need to be the person in control of a lot of wealth. And I'm going to do everything in my power, even if it means hurting my Twitter followers, even if it means hurting people in the near term, to get as much power as possible because I know what to do for humanity, sort of thing. Maybe he sees it as a dire situation because it kind of is a dire situation. You know, I'm trying to reflect on why he would do the things that he does. But maybe he's doing this kind of thing so he could accumulate a lot of Bitcoin. Maybe he's doing this kind of thing because who could solve the crisis of Bitcoin? It could literally be Elon Musk creating solar fields and making Bitcoin energy fields like completely renewable and self-contained Bitcoin mining operations. He could literally solve the problem. So I don't know what his play is. I don't know, but part of me thinks that he believes we're rapidly approaching failure and he could do something about it. And the only way he can do something about it is by having a massive amount of money. That or he is intimidated by Michael Saylor and wants to hold more Bitcoin than Michael Saylor. Probably a mixture of both. You know, the fact that to hear Michael Saylor in an interview, I can imagine Elon Musk just like, this guy has 5.5 billion of Bitcoin, got 111,000 Bitcoin, and we have how much? 1.5 billion? He's probably just sitting there because he doesn't have access to all of his funds. His funds are in Tesla stock, and he's probably not very happy about that either. So I don't know what the whole situation is with it, but please leave a comment down below if you think you know something about that and we can bounce some information off each other, because that's how we learn. I learn a lot from the comment sections. I see every single comment. I try my best to either put a like on them. And by the way, watch out for these imposter accounts on YouTube. At some point, I hope they get on top of that, because it makes me so. I'll like comments. I'll go and like comments in the comment section, right? And because it has that heart on it, the imposter accounts will come in on those specific comments because it shows a like from my genuine account, and then they use their disingenuous account to try to make it look like it's me. And so I'm so bothered by it. And I don't want you to don't be disheartened to put a comment down below just because there's these imposter accounts. I do everything in my power to hide them as fast as possible, but sometimes they'll come out at like 4 a.m. And it's like I wake up in the morning, I'm like, I can't believe this. They allowed the same account to write the same thing 100 times. It's like, it's ridiculous that it's allowed, but it happens. So watch out for those imposter accounts. My real account will be highlighted, you know? So if you get a heart, that's genuinely from me. Only I can put a heart on the comments or whatever. But if it's a comment, some people will take my actual picture and make a Rob Soltan or account and then try to get you to contact them. I will never solicit you. I won't ever solicit you to contact me anywhere. I want to talk in the comments here. I don't want to talk anywhere else. So just know that in my videos. But don't let it dishearten you from writing comments. Don't let that happen, because that's how we learn together. There might be 10 things I have right in this video and 20 things that I have wrong in this video. But the way that we learn is by bouncing this information. Call me out on things that you think I'm wrong about. Add some things to what I'm right about that I might have missed some points on. That's how we learn in this space. And this is a big problem. What we're talking about here is literally, it's the future of, I mean, if we're being paid in this instrument, we are essentially giving up our time for whatever instrument that we're paid in. And there's nothing more valuable than time. So does money buy happiness? Well, it buys time. Money is stored time. So if you spend 60 hours, a week working whatever job it is, or 40 hours a week, however long you work, you're giving up those amount of hours for a select amount of money, for a select amount of capital. So if you keep it in dollars, you are willing to give up 40 or 60 hours of your time, say, for $1,000 a week. So what I urge you to do is look at it as, I have a stored, so this bar right here, for example, say I make $30,000 a year and I have this 1,000-ounce bar here, right? This here is a year sitting on my desk of time. How valuable is a year of time? If you make $30,000 a year, and I made $30,000 a year for a very, very long time before I ever could leverage. I made a lot less than that for a while, but 30,000, say you have 30,000 is what you make a year. This could be a stored year of time right here. Not only is it a stored year, but it can become a stored 2 years, a stored 3 years, a stored 4 years, depending on how much it grows in value if you're smart about your investments. So it's just stored time is what money is. And is time happiness? I'll let you draw your own conclusions. I think so. I think time is happiness. Being able to control. I had a mentor once ask me, this is back when I want to say I was like 15, 16. And he goes, what's success, Rob? What's success to you? My first answer to him was, I looked back at him and I go, success is having a bunch of money. And he's like, you're wrong. And so I'm like, oh, okay. And so I come back and like years and years later, I was wrong like 3 times trying to answer what success is. And finally it hit me. And success, my definition of success is doing what you want, when you want, however you want to do it. That was the definition of success. And when I told him that, he said it was right. So that's what I consider success, doing what you want, when you want, however you want to do it. So if you have stored capital, however you store your capital, consider it stored time to do what you want, when you want, however you want to do it. That is a pretty good place to end this video. I hope that there was some valuable information for you. If there was, please smash the like button. Please help share this video and get it out there. It still is astonishing to me that there is like 20 some odd thousand subscribers on this channel. I say that every video, so it's probably getting annoying at this point, but I guess that's another thing to kind of leave the video on is if people around you don't appreciate you speaking, like I rant a lot. I can't tell you how many times I've been on a cell phone or with a family member that doesn't believe in the things that I'm doing. When I was starting my company, they tried to talk me out of building my company for the longest time. Living in the warehouse. What are you doing living in the warehouse? How crazy are you to be living in the warehouse? If somebody doesn't believe in you, you have to change your setting. So for me personally, if I'm ranting a lot and I'm on the phone and I want somebody to listen to something I have to say and they hang up on me or they try to get off the phone, I got something to do, I got to go, and you're talking with somebody, you have to change your setting to wherever you need to go to where you're appreciated. And the fact that there's over 20,000 people on this YouTube channel that want to hear me ramble for an hour and 4 minutes on here, I'm humbled by it, and it's if I helped you in any way, you're helping me more than you know, because I always thought for the longest time that I always felt kind of crazy. I always felt like there's something wrong with me in a way, because I'd always be thinking about some stuff like we were talking about in this video, and I want to talk to somebody so badly about it, you know? And it wasn't until I changed my environment, made this set, figured out how to use this microphone, figured out how all this stuff worked. And it was a process. If you remember, my first live streams weren't as probably good of quality as this one, you know? Suddenly the settings change and it works out. And so that's something I would urge of you as well. You know, consider your time, your money, stored time, and what you do with that time should find out an environment, find a setting that truly fits you. You could be, you know, a shark and you could swim like no other, but you don't want to be trying to learn how to climb a tree, like Albert Einstein would say. You know, you got to find whatever your setting is, whatever your environment is. For me, it's building a precious metals company and making these videos. That's where I want to be. I don't even want to hang out with people. You know, like it's funny. I get contacted by friends or something. I'm sitting there. I'm like, I have 3 ideas for a video, and I really want to make something up, finish some coding stuff that I was working on, and I really want to look into these different investments right now. What am I doing here at this table? I don't even want to drink anymore. I don't even drink anymore. Like I have no reason to. I'm so excited for the things that I'm working on right now. You know, I probably could use a little bit less caffeine in my life, but I don't know. It's just me rambling on some stuff, but all in all, I just wanted to say thank you so much for being part of this channel. You know, it means a lot to me. Everybody that subscribes to this channel, everybody that supports my videos. I hope that you see that I don't want to change in any way. I don't want to change the content style. I'm not going to put some cheesy intro in my videos. I'm just going to shoot a live stream. No editing. I'm going to do some 10-minute videos, some 20-minute videos and stuff like that, and clips. People have been talking about doing clips as well, but I really enjoy doing these live streams where it's just genuine. There's no editing involved. And that's why I do that hourglass thing and stuff. But that's all the stuff I wanted to talk about here. I'm sure I missed a bunch of super chats. So if I missed your super chat, I apologize. We'll go through some comments here. We'll stay here for a little bit longer and go through some comments. But as of right now, if you don't want to watch the video anymore, up to you. But we're gonna go through some comments now. But I wanted to talk all about just money in general, and I think I touched on a lot of the places I wanted to all the points I wanted to touch on. But if I missed your super chat, I apologize. I don't like missing the super chats. And if you want to be subscribed to the channel, please do click subscribe. If I missed your comments in here while I was rambling for an hour, I rambled for a full hour without even looking at any of the comments because I'm really passionate about this subject. So I apologize if I missed your comments, but shoot me a DM on Instagram. Go to Instagram at @RobSoltan on Instagram. There's actually better pictures of the stuff I have here on my Instagram. If you want to see what this bar looks like, if you want to see what these gold bars look like and stuff, I have pictures of that on my Instagram. And if you want to shoot me a DM on Instagram at @RobSoltan on Instagram, my Twitter's RJ Soltan. Somebody has Rob Soltan on Twitter, and I will pay you to the person that has, whoever's on all the people in this space. You want to find out a way to make an easy $2,000 right now? 505 people in here. Easiest $2,000 ever. Well, not easy, but whoever figures out how to do it. Whoever gets Rob Soltan on Twitter and can get me the Rob Soltan handle on Twitter, pay $2,000 for that. I want that. Is that wrong? I just feel like the OCD part of me is bothered by that. It's RJ Soltan, not. Anyway, I got the Instagram one. So if you want to find me on Instagram, at Rob Soltan. Steven, I will never sell this 1,000-ounce bar. This is my 1,000-ounce bar. They got to put this in my casket. I got a consecutive pair of actual Comex bars from the New York Assay Office. This is an authentic government-issued New York Assay Office Comex bar. They couldn't even, they were pouring these. Look at the pour on this thing. Tell me to sell this thing. How dare you? How dare you? I will never sell this thing. I love this. Look at this. This was poured in 1951. There's no way I'm selling this thing. This is a piece of art. Doesn't mean I'm not going to have Bitcoin, but I might marry this bar. You never know. But I have 2 of them. This is one of mine. I have the consecutive pair to this one. But I have pictures of it on my Instagram. But I come from the precious metal space. I'm always going to love precious metals. That'll never change. As much as people want me to only be in Bitcoin, I'm big in both. And guess what? Because I'm big in both, the Bitcoin crowd can't hold this against me. My silver is holding its value. As far as I know, I'm looking at my silver, and my silver is still up at 27.28. It's at 27.63 on the spot price right now. So Bitcoin pulled back in half, but my silver is still holding up very strong. So what can I do now? All the people that were so opposed to silver. Well, now I can take advantage of that. We can almost look at it like a gold to silver ratio, like a silver to Bitcoin ratio. That ratio actually does exist. So silver to Bitcoin ratio is now changed. Now it's lopsided towards selling some silver to buy Bitcoin. And maybe that changes in the future. Maybe Bitcoin goes to 80,000. It's better to get rid of some Bitcoin for some silver. I don't ever want to sell my Bitcoin. I've never sold a single Satoshi, not one Satoshi, never sold a Satoshi. So, I mean, they have no argument against that. Turns out that holding silver and Bitcoin was the right move. That is arbitrage in a way. Well, not exactly arbitrage, but kind of. But I promise I'll do a few more. We'll go through some comments. If I missed your super chat, I apologize. Maybe put a comment saying I did a super chat and then you missed it, but there was like $25 in super chats. I really appreciate it when you guys do that. It adds up and it means a lot to me. So I don't like missing those. If I missed it, I apologize. Shoot me a DM. Tell me it was your super chat or something, and we'll talk on Instagram. And by the way, drink good water. See what it does for your health. People want like health advice or something. It's not a fancy diet or anything. You're at 70, 80% talking water blob. That's what you are, carbon and H2O. So put some good H2O on you. You'll feel better. I only drink out of glass, and I make my own water. Hey, Steven, if you tell me to sell my bar one more time, it's block for you. See this? This is a powerful little clicker, and I never use it. But if you talk bad about my bar, click. But you guys know, it's funny, I don't have a moderator in any of my live streams. So the funny thing is, the real moderator in my live stream is the Silver Squirrels. If the Silver Squirrels vote you out, if you get like 20 Silver Squirrels in there saying boot them, you're gone. You're gone. So you guys hold the chat room. So I'll tell you, the Silver Squirrels are powerful up in here because we don't have a moderator. I don't just boot anybody. It's funny. See, the thing is, if you came from vintage silver, if you came from where I come in the scene of vintage silver, you would know that this bar is a lot more valuable than coins. Super, super rare bar. You know how much a little 10-ounce bar of a New York assay bar goes for? Like $20,000. $15,000, $20,000 for a little 10-ounce one of these bars. They're extremely collectible among collectors. Just like you have a rare coin that's worth $100,000 for one ounce gold coin that's a rare coin from a key date. There's people paying ridiculous amounts of money for assay bar material. If you have a silver assay bar, if you find a silver assay bar somewhere in a pawn shop or whatever, that's where I started, was hustling pawn shops. I would go into pawn shops and find stuff that they didn't know was valuable when I was first starting out in vintage silver. And they would be like, put some ridiculous upcharge on silver, but they didn't know that silver bar was worth like 10x spot. So they'd be looking at me like, I remember there was one time there was 3 New York assay bars in this pawn shop in Vegas. I don't know if I want to talk about all the hustler stories and stuff, but that was where I got my first nest egg, was going pawn shop to pawn shop to pawn shop, finding collectibles that they didn't know were as rare as, they thought they were. So it was kind of funny to go into shops where they were trying to take advantage of the customer and end up taking advantage of the shop. So it was good times back then. Good times. One of these days I'll talk about the stories. The problem is I'm still on the journey. I'm still on the journey building in the precious metal space and building Mineral Exchange. And so I'm actually going to be rolling out a new website very soon. So if you go to mineralexchange.com right now, if you want to put your email in there, it says sold out of everything, but there's some big moves happening very soon. I've been working on them in the background here. And there might even be job opportunities in the future. I know a lot of people that are nearby, in Southern California and the LA area have been reaching out. Maybe in the future, I'm going to need some help around here. And a lot of expansion type stuff, but that's down the line. Hey, you want to know something funny? Deplorable the man. Copper's chart. I was actually just looking at Copper's chart because I know a person arbitraging with pennies right now. Look at the 5-year chart on copper. Oh my, that is crazy. Nobody can hate on copper. Hey, you might be buying it might not be as much stored money as silver or gold, but I'll tell you what, silver and gold didn't go from $2 to $5, $2 to $4.50. I guess silver did do that from 12 to, but I mean that chart, that 1-year chart on copper, that's a straight up line. Really, the 1-year chart is impressive. The 1-year chart's from a little bit over $2 to 4.5, so a double and 50 cents. Pretty strong. It's like 125%. Copper is doing well. And I hear like copper for building materials is going up in price, just like lumber and all of that. So can't hate on copper. Pawn shop mining. I did do pawn shop mining at one point in my life. When I was probably, 22? Yeah, 22. Traveling around Vegas and up the 15 and stuff. Good times. Good times. Money is representing energy. You're right. That's the best way to look at it. I love going through the comments, but if I could end the video on one note, that's the note I want to end it on, is that money is stored time. It's stored time, stored energy. Really think about that. It's like the way that you can look at things is, how much does your rent cost? How much does your living expenses cost for the entire year? Calculate that. It could be 20 grand, it could be 30 grand, 40 grand, 50 grand. And if you have $50,000 and your cost of life is $50,000 per year, groceries, your insurance, your car bill, your rent, all these things combined, say it's $30,000 a year. If you have, say, this bar here, you have a full year of time. What can you do with that full year of time? And then when you look at money that way and you look at time as money, you start realizing, wait, I don't want to sit in this classroom paying them money. That's my stored time. I'm paying them to give up time that I don't even want to be there giving up. That's a double bad investment. That's a bad investment squared for me to be sitting in this prerequisite college class that I don't even want to do, and pay them money to sit here in a place where I don't want to sit here, to pay them to do that. It's like, wait, I want to be watching a YouTube video. Some guy that doesn't know what he's talking about in his warehouse on a live stream named Rob. No, I'm just kidding. But realistically, there's so much information out there at your disposal, at your fingertips for free. So your time is money. It's stored. Money is stored time. And that's why I believe that Bitcoin is stored capital. It's stored money, because it took so much time and labor from these computer systems to make a Bitcoin. It's getting harder and harder to make it. Is it taking more electricity? Sure it is. Because but you want to know something funny? This small trade-off of 25% of it not being renewable energy, or say it's even 50% of it that's not renewable energy yet, the financial institutions of today use way more energy than that. And this stands as something to actually give the individual people the leverage for the banks to start giving us a fair interest rate every year. It gives you the leverage so that they can't just dilute the money like that. Otherwise, the citizens will go, like if you have these extra layers. That was actually something I wanted to talk about in the video a little bit more, was the competition of money. Looking at money itself and all the different layers of capital, whether it's fiat currency, whether it's gold, whether it's silver, whether it's Bitcoin, whether it's any of the cryptos. Those are all layers themselves. All of these different layers of money should be fair competition, should be a capitalistic structure of fair competitions of money. So if the dollar is overprinted and people think it's diluted, well, then those citizens have the option to leave the dollar and then go into a different layer. And the founding fathers thought about this. That's why the money was made out of gold and silver, so that the individuals had their sovereignty. We just happened to adopt to a new standard because that standard doesn't work anymore because they stole the gold and silver. That's what happened. 1971, Nixon just stole it. They held the gold and silver hostage from 33 to 71. And 71, they stole it. So that system doesn't work. So we had to, as humans, as modern civilization, have to invent something different where we could store the capital in our head and store it on these devices. You know. So I would just urge that we need more competition, and because of that competition, you have leverage. Imagine, I actually have been looking up new shipping methods recently. Imagine you had a situation where one postal, and this happened, I guess, with USPS for a long time. It was the Postal Service, right? Look at the Postal Service. Go to a Postal Service. They have computers, I think, from 1992. I think they're 1992 dial-up computers. I think they used those on the first NASA trip is what they use those computers on at the USPS. They have cameras that I'm pretty sure I could sell for a premium from being vintage. There's such bad cameras in the USPS that I'm pretty sure I could sell them for like $300 just based on them being like vintage collectible cameras. That's how bad the cameras are. And here's the funny part, for like one of these Waze cameras and these cameras they sell right now that are very high quality, they're like $25, $30. That's how inefficient a government works. If you want to know how inefficient a government is, go to USPS. Look at their dune buggies from 1942 that they drive. You want to know how inefficient a government operates? Just go to the USPS. Look at them. They don't even have an express flat rate. I'm so mad they don't have an express flat rate service. So bothersome. Like these little individual things, only an entrepreneur comes up with the ideas to bring things to the next level because an entrepreneur wants to compete. So I relate that competition, that urge to compete, because guess what? You go to FedEx, there's 2 security guards in the front with a metal detector. Every employee has to use a clear backpack at FedEx. You know that? Every employee has to use a clear backpack. They don't even watch you at USPS. I've seen the back end of both of them. You could eat off the floor of FedEx. It is spick and span. It is beautiful. It's just nothing. The whole place is just wide open. You can see everything. Everybody has to use a clear backpack there at FedEx because guess what? It's a private company. It's a private company. The government one, look how that one looks. Because there was no competition there. They're just the Postal Service. They're the government entity. For a long time, there was no competition. So they don't have any reason to change the camera system. They don't have any reason to have a security guard. They don't have any reason to change the airplanes and use better airplanes or do anything to be more efficient. You know who does have that incentive to do that? FedEx, Amazon, UPS, because they're private entities that want to compete and want to win. So what happens? They create a better service and they drive the cost down because they want to compete with each other. That same type of competition needs to happen with currency. That same competition that leads to it being a beautiful, perfectly clean place with the cars all lined up indoors. The FedEx, they keep it all indoors too. So they're ahead of the UPS because they're indoors. And they make everybody have to use a clear backpack. It's wild. If you really look inside of a FedEx facility, you're like, wow, you guys are way ahead. And guess what? They're a private company. USPS will never do that because there's no leader of USPS that stands to gain. Why is Tesla where it is? Because Elon Musk wanted to be a billionaire. Hate to break it to everybody that doesn't think he wants to be a billionaire. He wanted to be a billionaire. He was willing to do anything in his power to succeed because he had that incentive to succeed. There's a leader of FedEx. They have an incentive to get paid more and to beat USPS and to beat UPS. You have to have that incentive structure, and that's why I believe in free market capitalism. But that same incentive structure has to happen with all the layers of money. All the different layers. There has to be that fair competition. Oh, you printed too much dollars? Boop, we're going into Bitcoin. Boop, we're going into silver. We're going into the silver layer. We're going into the gold layer. We're going into the collectible watches layer. We're going into whatever layer it is. Those options have to be there to keep that currency in check. And then the people that made the mistake, they realize they made the mistake because people left that currency. Same situation as the Postal Service and all of that. And you'll see that across all sectors. Competition is what leads to having YouTube, what leads to having these fancy, these are this is alien technology just 10, 20 years ago, this iPhone here. All these different things come from fair competition, and that needs to happen with the currency structures. And with that being said, I have rambled enough. This is an hour and 30-minute long video. I always do that. I'm sorry for staying too long, guys. I do that sometimes. If you're just watching this video now and you're like, man, I can't believe he talked for another hour and 30 minutes. What's wrong with this dude? I ramble a lot. But thank you all very much for being part of this live stream. I am going to call it a night. That is the video. Have a great rest of your evening. If I missed your comments, shoot me a comment over on Instagram, at Rob Soltan on Instagram, RJ Soltan on Twitter. I know I say that, but if you could go to my Twitter, because the thing is, if more people follow my Twitter, I can reach out to have better guests. And I want to turn this eventually into a podcast where I could talk to, say, Michael Saylor, or I could, because I have things I want to criticize. There's things that I want to appreciate, and there's questions that haven't been asked to certain individuals in these spaces. And I would love to be able to do interviews. And so if I can grow my Twitter presence and grow my Instagram presence, eventually I can bring these really cool interviews to the channel. And when I do an interview, it isn't going to be with a bunch of ads in it and everything. When I do an interview, it's going to be a legit interview with no funny business. And I'm not even going to do an intro. I'm not going to have that boop, 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 whatever intro at the beginning. I don't even want that. Just straight into the video every time. No funny business. But that's my plan. So if people can follow me on Twitter, that's the ultimate plan, is to eventually be able to get really cool guests on here and stuff for everybody to learn from. Again, thank you all so much for being here. This will be the end of this video. Have a great rest of your evening. Have a great weekend. I might drop a few videos tomorrow depending on how I'm feeling. I'll probably host a few auctions on the groups and stuff. So maybe I'll make a video tomorrow as well. We'll see. But if you haven't subscribed, you want to click that red subscribe and the bell afterwards. And when you click the bell and all notifications, you'll be notified of all future live streams, all future videos on the channel. Would love to have you as a subscriber on the channel. And again, please do make your voice heard, and don't let these imposter accounts discourage you, because at this point, I can't stop them. The only thing we can do is mess with them or something. If everybody knows that it's imposter accounts, maybe they find out that it's a waste of time in the future. I hope that happens, because I don't want them to. The real thing to look out for is they go after the comments that I like. And so it discourages me from liking the comments, because then they go and comment underneath it, contact me here. And it makes it look like it's me, because the legitimate account is the only one that can put the heart like or whatever in the comment sections. But just remember, if I put a comment, if I personally comment, it'll be highlighted. The name tag will be highlighted, and I will never, ever solicit you. Ever. I won't ask you to contact me anywhere. That won't ever happen. And that won't happen for any YouTuber. So watch out. It's happening all across the board. And honestly, I'm humbled that I go, you're doing it on my channel. I'm a small channel. I thought you would go do this on Joe Rogan's page or something, but they prey on the small channels, I guess. But that's the end of the video. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here. Have a great rest of your evening. Signing out.